Hey guys, how we doing today? I got my little Christmas mug, my snowman mug to celebrate the holidays. It's getting hot in here. That's what it says. First of all, welcome to another Film Valor video, I should say. Not so much an episode, just as a fun thing we wanted to do today. I have a very special guest I'm gonna be talking to on Zoom, which is my brother, AJ LoCascio, who's a very talented voice actor.
If I didn't know that this was not Michael, I would have assumed it was.
Doc, come back! Doc! You wish to challenge me? Then come down and claim your crown. Get in there, you big furry hoe! I don't care what you smell!
He's done so many different things that I'm very proud of. He is my older brother, so it's that type of a relationship. But I very much appreciate him coming on. And what's interesting for you guys today is we're gonna be talking to him about something I know nothing about, which is voice acting and how to even get into that realm. So if you're interested in this and you're interested in him, he's got amazing work that he's done for Disney, for Netflix, oh man, he's worked with some of the major studios, Sony. And so I'll let him get a little bit more into that and I'll just listen. And it should be an interesting conversation from brother to brother. Let's see. So AJ, welcome to it's not, if it was a show, I'd welcome you to the show, but it's not a show. It's just for fun.
It's just us in a room.
It's just us in a room. Well, you're in a bunker. I'm in a room.
I'm in my sound booth, which is, I'm in a sliding closet.
I didn't know it did that.
Oh, I just damaged my Spider-Man figure.
Is that a 1990s Spider-Man figure?
Yeah, it's a 90s Spider-Man. I guess it fell down and I just shut the closet on it. So.
Oh, I'm sorry this happened. I'm sorry this happened on my watch.
Oh man, it's fine. I don't know how it got down there, but well, I'll just have to open it up.
I just couldn't believe when you slid the wall like that. I thought I would have swore that was solid there, but you slid it forward.
It's just a regular sliding closet.
So first of all, I'm sorry that's happened, but that's part one. Okay.
Got all kinds of weird stuff in here.
Okay,
I got this from an actual claw machine. I was so excited. There was this weird, shop that had a claw machine with aliens in it, and I was so excited. And it's just a random shop.
I would be excited too. Most of the claw machines don't actually appear to work, or maybe the design not to.
Apparently, this one was like overly. I won like 3 times. I was like, this is amazing. And I just kept getting weird.
It was an aggressive claw machine. It was actually had real claw function as opposed to just, where it goes.
Yeah, just the soft.
Yeah, that's right. Like this. So I do have actual questions for you, but what I think is cool about this, number one, I don't know anything about what you do. And when you tell me stuff, I'm also fascinated when you tell me stuff because I'm like, okay, wow, that's like a world I don't understand. And what's cool about it is we actually grew up together, so we have, that.
Well, that's what being brothers usually entails, yeah.
Right. And so there's all these interesting facets of us, playing video games together or whatever it was that actually makes my perspective on it maybe interesting as well, because it's like, hey, you're my older brother who I love and admire, but also you're doing all this awesome stuff. And it's really, really cool. And for me, it's like, wow, this is crazy because it's like, this was something we just did for fun and it was enjoyable. And now you're in these things. And a lot of them are stuff that's just really top notch. I mean, it's like Netflix, it's Disney, it's every other company we can name, Sony. So I wanted to get into that a bit because I think there are people out there who want to do what you do.
Hot closet.
I'm sorry, is it really hot? Okay. Is it really hot?
I'm also where this is positioned is the side of the building where the sun hits. So, and it's not like I can put an air conditioner in here. So it's just, it's a hot box. It's like in Bridge Over the River Kwai, where he's just being tortured in a.
So what I'll do is try not to torture you.
No, it's perfectly fine. I've spent hours in here, so it's all good.
Yeah, and also, I'm sure you've done I know you do tons of interviews and stuff like that. I think it's really cool that you've gotten such a great following. You have a tremendous following at this point of people who know you from various characters. And every time not every time I meet someone, but when I meet people, and they're like, "Oh, tell me about your family, whatever." I was like, "My brother's a voice actor." Because
Such a
people
weird.
don't.
I wouldn't have. This is not what I thought I'd be doing. So I mean, it's not. None of us were like, he's gonna go do voiceover. Like that's such an odd departure from the norm, and not at all what any. None of us were saying that that's a thing that I'd go do, or any of us would go do. It's very, very, very weird.
I know it's crazy. The interesting thing too, and it's not to say that one is stuck in the other, whatever it is, but I would have thought more so that I would be, when I was like 15, 14, I would have thought that maybe I would want to be, or would be striving to be, or would be an actor of some kind, and you would
I
have been
definitely would
doing
have
what
thought that
I'm
too, or
doing.
stand up or something. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you'd be doing what I'm doing or whatever. But to whatever degrees that is and whatever it is, you've been very, very, very successful in it. You've done it tremendously well. And it's in a way, obviously, I couldn't do what you do. And I think even,
You could.
I don't know about
I
that.
think you could. Not. I think you could. It's
Well,
because I'm
thank
just
you.
making this up. I mean, like that's the thing is we all would do it growing up. We'd all do voices and play act, and it's just an extension of that where it's like, oh, but now someone handed me the words to do it. I'm like, okay, I'll do those then instead of doing
I appreciate that. But it what's interesting and like, yeah, it's me, you, and Dad have all come from, for the audience doesn't know, we grew up in
share a dad.
What's that? Yeah, we share a dad. We grew up in the same house, okay?
Yes, we grew up in the same. Believe it or not,
The same two houses, actually, it usually was.
several. Yeah, at some point.
Parents got divorced. So yeah, that's part of the backstory. But there was always this love and passion for movies and like seeing movies together. And every time it's December, like I'm watching Lord of the Rings. You know what I mean?
Oh
And
yeah.
that's
Well,
something
you've
that we're always
seen.
doing.
I have a Lord of the Rings tree. That's my. Have you
Yeah,
seen it?
yeah,
The Eye of Sauron at the top, and
yeah.
because so my partner Erica doesn't hate Christmas. She doesn't like Christmas, and so I was like, well, what's a way to make her like Christmas? So I was like, what if we do Lord of the Rings themed stuff? And so all our ornaments are just Lord of the Rings. All our, I was like, this is a good way to do this, and so making it our own.
Does she like Lord of the Rings though? This is the thing that's on my mind as you're saying
She
this.
likes Lord of the Rings. Yeah, she loves Lord of
Oh,
the
okay,
Rings.
good. I was gonna say, imagine if she hates Lord of the Rings. You're like, well, we're gonna put Lord of the Rings on the
I think she
tree.
just had crappy Christmases. So for her, it's like
I get
this.
that.
I have a lot of friends like this where it's like they didn't get things they liked. Their family was weird, and
Yeah.
it's like here's socks. So for her, it's
I
a
mean,
season of disappointments. And for me, I'm like, I have to like. She didn't know what a stocking stuffer was until last year, and I was like, what? So I like got her a bunch of dumb things like here's a growing dinosaur and an egg, and like those dumb things you get in stocking stuffers. It's like a way to introduce her to that.
during the holidays and some of the weirdness that's been happening even in my own life right now, what's something I wanted to do is get in touch with everybody again and kind of like push aside my busyness because we're always working on something. I mean, you're working on something, I'm working on something, and like we don't really do this, where we can actually sit down and talk. So it's like kind of functional in the sense that like, hey, this is what it's, you're going to tell us about what you do, which is great, and then also we just get to talk a little bit. So it's as informal as that, So thanks for
Also,
doing
is
it.
that what is behind you in the art? I can't stop looking. There's like a city and then a clock and then what
Oh,
looks
I
like a
got this
knife.
little pirate thing that lights up, which doesn't light up anymore because I have to put batteries in it.
But what's the
So,
knight above your head?
oh, that's Ray from Star Wars because I have, yeah,
Oh, I thought it was a Dark Souls thing. Okay,
yeah, no,
that's
no,
really
yeah,
funny. Okay, anyway, sorry. Yes, I also
um,
have Star Wars things in here as well. So I've got a
yeah, and
little Han Solo and
I got my Iron Man stuff there. Um, okay, so yeah, can you just tell us, like, it doesn't have to be a real formal response, but just tell everybody who doesn't know, I gave you an introduction, just like how you got into voice acting.
so well, as you know, and I'm sure you've heard the story a million times, is I was living in New Jersey, working in New York, and I heard there was going to be a Back to the Future game, and I was talking to our cousin Johnny, and he was like, "You should audition for that, or tell them you do a Marty McFly impression." And I was like, "What? That's crazy." And then I thought about it, and I was like, "You know what? I will do that." And I was literally driving, and I turned the car around and I went back home and looked up the company Telltale Games, and there was just a list of people's numbers like that worked for the company because they were so small at the time. And I called Rhoda, the accountant, and left a message as Marty McFly where I was just like, hey, my name is AJ. I do a pretty good Marty McFly impression, and just left this long, weird message with my phone number. And then I truly don't remember whether they called me back or whether I got an email or what the situation was, but they contacted me and was like, hey, that's interesting. Can you send us like an MP3 of you doing takes as Marty? And I was like, okay. So I did. I got a Rock Band mic from the EB Games that was in Clinton, and I like recorded it. It was like a used Rock Band mic in like a plastic bag hanging from one of those little hangers. And so that's how I recorded it. Yeah, and like that weird little alcove in the where we shared a room with the bunk beds.
Yeah.
Where we had 2 giant wooden desks for some reason that should not have been in there, that were taking up too much room.
No room.
Anyway, so I recorded it in there, and then I sent it off, and then I got very, very, very clinically depressed. And one of my friends was like, do you want to move to LA? And I spoke to Mom about it, and she was like, what else are you doing with your life right now? You have nothing going on. You have no girlfriend. You have no prospects. Go move to LA. And I was like, okay. So I moved out to LA, still very clinically depressed. And then the week I got there, I got like a message that was like, hey, it's between you and like one other dude. Do you want to re-audition? I was like, yes, of course. So I did. And then I got it, and that was nuts. And then I also, the side story of that is I basically stopped eating for like 2 weeks because I was so anxious about it and nervous. And they were like, Christopher Lloyd's going to be there. And I was like, what? So that's how I got into voiceover, was doing that. Was Marty McFly was the first thing I did, which is insane. And every time I tell the story, I don't believe it because it's so bizarre. But that was the first thing, and then I had to parlay that into a career, which was much harder than getting that first gig. Was trying to take a guy who did an impression of Michael J. Fox and turning it into an actual career, not just being like, hey, I do one thing. So yes, that really is.
Well, that's interesting, and there's a lot of things I could touch on there, but maybe you could tell, actually, while we're on it, how did you do that? How did you do that next part? Because that's actually something I really don't know about, where you said, okay, I did this, and then...
I did the classic thing where, at the time, it's like I made a CD with a reel where it's like, here's my headshot, and here's a CD with a bunch of my demo, which was a minute long. And it was just me doing different impressions and voices because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And I sent it out to a bunch of agents. Only one responded, or 2. And, I went and I auditioned there and then didn't hear anything. Also didn't love them. I thought they were kind of mean. And then another agent picked me up, and they were, I don't know, they were kind of just starting up, and it was a bit of a mess. But the way I'm with my current agent, CESD, they're great. I got through a contact at Telltale Games. They're like, hey, we work with this agency a lot. Can we send you, would you be okay with us sending you your stuff to them? And I was like, yes, of course. My agent, Kathy. So they sent her a bunch of my demos and things. And they were like, these are great. Come in and audition. And I did. And they were like, are you in the union? And I was like, no. And they were like, well, if you ever get in the union, hit us up. And I was like, all right. So I stayed with the other agent I was with, who was frankly terrible. And then the lucky thing happened where I was in AFTRA, and AFTRA and SAG merged. And so the day they merged, I called up CESD and I was like, hey, it looks like I'm in the union. So they were like, okay, well, come in and, talk to us and re-audition. And I was like, but also I have another agent. And they were like, well, that's going to be a problem. And I was like, don't worry. I looked at my contract. I can fire them. So I did. I called them up and I got like literally the classic, like, you're not going to make it in this town without me. Like literally like the most they must have just a file of those. And she was like, you're not going to make it in this town without me. Like you need me. And I'm like, I've been with you for 6 months and I haven't booked anything. And the auditions you're sending me are all wrong. So I was like, all right, goodbye. And then I went to CESD, and then that's how that started, is they started sending me auditions for things. And one of the first things I got was a Crudes video game, which then somehow magically turned into a series, or 2 series at this point. That's how that's the long, weird nitty gritty of that. But yeah, that was years of work. Hold on, my friend John's texting me because I forgot I was supposed to get breakfast with him. He sent me a gif of the Undertaker getting up because he's so hungry. It's just there you go. Okay. 12. I want to just keep. Anyway, that's from Force Awakens, right? Where he goes 12, 14.
I think it's
Anyway, does that
awesome.
answer your question?
Yes. Also, CESD. Yes.
Yes, yes.
Well, I've worked with them before because one of the actresses in my third feature was with CESD, and they were really nice and they were easy to deal with.
Unlike
Yeah,
some
they're
of
great.
them, right?
Yeah. There's
And
not a lot of what I like about them is there's not a lot of ego. They're for the
yeah,
most
they
part,
just
they're
do their
just
job.
human beings.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just do their job.
It's actually kind of, it seems rare though, because it's like everything is always about like the type of thing you said. It's like, oh, well, he needs new shoes. It's like, well, you didn't hurt, your shoes weren't harmed in the making of the picture. So why are we getting you
Was that a
new
thing you
shoes?
had to deal with where someone needed new
Yes,
shoes? Oh my
yes.
god.
And we're like, we have 8,000 pixels of proof that you don't need new shoes.
That's odd. All
We
right.
zoomed into it 400 times. We're still
What kind
sure.
of shoes were they? Were they like Air Jordans or something special?
They were something special, yeah. And it was like the type of thing where it was like they were just weird from the beginning, though. You know what I mean? Like, so it was like one of those things where it's like, now you've crossed the line. The shoes are damaged. It's like, I don't think so. Our red Epic Helium 8K sensor tends to disagree with you. Do you have
That's
a
so
better
weird.
picture?
That's so weird.
Yeah. But that's that's just like I mean, but
Yeah, yeah.
the
You
audience
talk about
doesn't
that
know.
stuff where.
Yeah,
I get it.
obviously
But
worse too.
hopefully that answered your question because it's a long. I don't usually give the long version of that answer just because there's not people don't know have reference for like when we shared a bunk bed and I taped a mic to the thing and
Yeah.
like it's so that's the long version of it and there's details I forget honestly because it was just something that was happening while I was dealing with other stuff.
Some of that I didn't know, and also, there's a, and I do have a list of questions, so that's what I'm staring into space at right now. But yeah, what's interesting, and I think we should, I don't know if you want to touch on this, but it might be interesting.
Go ahead.
And something I think about. I kind of like the fact that, like, I can go away in a room and do something, and that's something that we probably share. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I could go, like I also like that I can emerge and there might be like 20 people I'm working with suddenly, you know what I mean? And that's kind of fun to be on that. Like, it's like I was thinking about this, I have that type of personality, but I also like to get away from all of that too and like think about it. So that's kind of why like what I do like makes sense. But it's interesting you're in a realm where you're based on performance, and even though it's recorded or whatever it is, it's not like theater, I guess. That's interesting. And I guess my question is, do you enjoy that spark, magic of, having to be in the moment of it? Because it's something that I don't know if I would enjoy necessarily, or how have you found to enjoy that?
You mean
Like, you have to perform, you're here and your job is to perform something. Do you find yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I love it when it's weird because I mean, I mostly like just being like, I'm gonna go tinker on things, or I'm gonna go sculpt alone with my chihuahuas and do nothing else. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, I've been lucky that I find that the ilk of people I deal with in voiceover is uh they're very kind and for the most part pretty introverted and different than in my experience like on camera people. There tends to be a lot of for lack of a better phrase, like personality disorders and a lot of things that are unchecked. Whereas it feels like a lot of voice actors go to therapy, but there's a lot of people who use on-camera acting as their therapy and just sort of brute force their way through life and cause a lot of harm. And this isn't obviously everyone, but I do find that there's a common thread of people that feel like they need to be seen also have a tendency to not be so generous and kind with other people. So I'm very lucky that with voiceover, there tends to be, oh, we're locked in a dark room together and we have to sort of interact and play, imagine. There's a bit more of an empathetic vibe to a lot of those people. So for the most part, I enjoy it. Like when I'm doing the God of War was a really fun experience because it's like I was doing multiple jobs where I was playing Atreus for a lot of it because the Sonny was too young to be on set all the time because he was 14 and he had to go to school, and so I was doing a lot of his stuff for most of it. and then he comes in later and dubs it. But I was just on set all the time, and it was like you develop a rapport with people where, yeah, you're in spandex. Everyone's in spandex. You all look stupid, and there's sort of a fun to that. And that's probably like the peak of voiceover to some degree, where like you're on a set doing motion capture, and we watched the Uncharted behind the scenes, and I remember thinking like, man, that would be fun, just rolling around and
Yeah.
in spandex, and it's exactly that. You're just in a white room. I'm in the same room they recorded most of the Uncharted's in, and it's fun. I mean, it's exciting. It's pretend. I mean, you're doing the same stuff we would do, where you're like playing with lightsabers and rolling around on like the swing equipment in our backyard and stuff. Like, it's the same thing, except now there's cameras pointed at you and someone's paying you, and so that's what I enjoy about it, is the dumb pretendness of it. That is, it's just silliness. It's just all silliness and stupidness, and I love it.
That's
Did I answer
interesting.
your question?
Yeah, no,
Also,
it
I'm
does.
resting my arm on a big boobied Lotor right now. I don't know if you-
What the
I just
hell?
got this from someone at LA Comic-Con. Was like, I have a gift for you, and I was like, what? And it's because I have to rest my hand to move around the mouse on here, and it's a hard edge, so I've got now this soft.
It's beautiful.
Look, he's got dimensional boobies.
Thanks to the fans. That actually reminds me. That actually reminds me of something too. Is what is it like? You do have actually like a fan base at this point. What is it like having people, especially like on Instagram, which is really cool because you were able to sort of take that and do some artwork and stuff like that in different pieces. But what is it like having that type of admiration? Because that's really what it is.
I mean, it's weird, but it's very sweet. It's funny because I mean, we're both such fans of things that I'm like, I almost want to be like, I'm constantly like, yeah, I get it. I'm a big fan too. I just did an interview yesterday for something that I can't talk about, but it's something that we are both fans of, and the whole time they were like, wow, you're a really big fan of this, huh? And I'm like, yeah, like this is what I grew up with.
You have no idea.
What was that?
You have no idea.
Yeah, I was like, you don't even know. Like, you don't even know. And so that's going to be, when that comes out, I'll let you know. I also just stepped on this and it made a noise, and I thought that was funny. But I mean, we're such devout fans of these things, and we're so obsessed, and we'd spend time rolling around, pretending and making costumes. And so that, for me, I'm just like, yeah, cool, me too. I'm a fan of this too. So like when someone comes up to me about like Star Wars or Voltron, I mean, Voltron's new for me because we didn't grow up watching Voltron. That was before our time. So it's a little different, but I get it. I get the energy, and I get the passion and the understanding. And so, it's kind of like, I look at someone like Adam Savage, who I love a lot, who is just very, there's a sense of, I'm getting on and off his booth or stool because my legs keep falling asleep. But he understands and empathizes with the fandom, and I think that's what makes him such a compelling figure. Is he's like, I love it too, So I try to. That's how I approach it. Is when someone appreciates it, I'm like, yeah, I totally get it. I appreciate that they appreciate what I've done, but also like I'm such a geek about this stuff too that it's, I don't know, it doesn't weird me out or doesn't. I'm just lucky that I get to be part of it.
No, it's a nice way. That's a nice way to look at it, and it's better than trying to put some sort of wall between you and the others, which I think doesn't work.
I mean, I do walk over them. I make them form a human bridge, and I walk across them to my destination. But other than that, totally normal. No, yeah, I think there's no other healthy way to approach that or to feel about it. Otherwise, it's, I don't know. Everyone's just a person, and we all like things. I mean, my room is filled with toys, and I'm a fan of those things, and. Yeah, I've got a little Black Series Han Solo hanging out in here. So yeah, there's so much stuff in here. I can't even I have I have a Sentinel from the X-Men show and like things that.
Where the hell did you pull that out of? That's gigantic.
Don't worry about it. It's just I have a bunch of stuff down here that I'm like, I need to play this.
What? Like you would just pull a '90s Sentinel out of underneath.
Well, that's not from that's from the new show. So it's I saw.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, I was like, well, I gotta get
Can
that.
Can you talk about that or no? Can you talk about that?
And yeah, this thing that I crushed before. So
I just watched. By the way, I just watched every episode of that show.
You told me that. I gotta rewatch it because I love the Aunt May. Like he's got such a fun voice that in my head is Spider-Man, and yeah.
How do you go about changing your voice from one project to another to keep it different every time?
I mean, each one requires a different sound. I guess I just find that's tough because sometimes it's a voice match, which is when it's a celebrity and they want you to just be the celebrity. And then, I mean, it's just play. It's just play. It's just the same thing we would do as kids, where it's like, "Hey, I'm a little sock puppet boy," like you go and do. I don't know. It became Adam Sandler. Oh, I'm a sock puppet. Where it's just in you. You just come up with something. I don't know. It's tough. But each project, you get a description. And if you're lucky, a photo of the character, which is very rare, like a drawing, and then you go, I don't know, what would that person sound like? What do they have no teeth? So, okay, what did that sound like?
So you just build it from what's given.
Yeah.
And then
So,
you gotta
Watch out for making it sound like something else you've done. Or do you do that where you're like, oh, I don't want to sound like.
I'm not so well known that I would have to worry about that. And even someone like Billy West sounds like Billy West in everything. Like to me, I'm like, yeah, that's Billy West. You just know. And I don't think that's something that most people, if you watch Robert Downey Jr. in a dozen movies, you're not like, hey, that looks like Robert Downey Jr. You're just like, yeah, it's Robert Downey Jr.
That's good.
So I think that you're not looking for, it's really just what fits the character and not worrying about anything else.
Do you have to do exercises to keep your voice fresh? Like, do you have to do, like, are you doing like me's?
Sorry, my eye got itchy. Yeah, there's definitely stuff I do beforehand. I warm up and it's a lot of like very silly, like when I was doing the Lego Star Wars game, at some point I had to transition from young to older Han Solo. And I was like, can you guys mute my mic so you can't hear what I'm doing? And I had to do a bunch of like, like really silly, like vocal exercises that actually James Arnold Taylor taught me. It was just very sweet. But he was
wow.
Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
And because I was nervous about that, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to do older Han Solo for this. And how do I deepen my voice in a way that's not going to shred it? And so he taught me a bunch of exercises. And so it's something I do depending on like for Gizmo was one that I would just sing a lot in the car before I'd go, because your voice gets tired kind of going, like you get tired. So I would do some exercises to sort of build my way into it, because I didn't want it to sound craggy on the first line and then we had to go back. So I would you just warm up in a very casual way, or at least I do. Or humming is a big thing. It's just going, warms up your throat.
Yeah, I was just curious because I'm like, okay, how do you keep that sharp? I know singers have the same problem. But what I was going to really, actually, I have one last question, which might be perfect timing, which is the point of this video too is like, okay, how do I do the magical thing you're doing if I'm into voice acting or if I'm into performance, but I think voice acting might be a thing for me? And people ask me this, I'm like, I don't know what to tell them. Like, just because my brother's one, I have no idea. So what advice would you have for someone trying to get into doing what you're doing? And do you think it's one of those things where it's like, life sort of takes you that direction?
Type things.
I don't know, because I mean, there is always a brute force way of getting into anything. There's always you can go through the front door like anyone else and just get in. I mean, plenty of people do it that way, where they make a reel and they put it online, and then that is viable. It's weird because for me, I got in such a bananas Willy Wonka crazy way, where I went in through a back door by accident by just taking a shot in the dark through my own, brute force naivete. And that's hard for me to say because that's not really where my expertise lies. But I guess my friend D. Bradley Baker has a website that's like, I want to be a voiceactor.com. And something like that. And it has this is how you do it, because he gets asked constantly. And that's probably the best way to start. And then making a reel that's like a minute long. And there's plenty of people who post on TikTok now and YouTube. I would say the biggest thing is, for the most part, working on acting is it. You have to know how to act. It doesn't matter what your voice sounds like. It doesn't matter if you can do a bunch of different voices. Nobody cares about that. What matters is that you can act, which is the core of it. It's like a guy came up to me at a bar once. Was like, I heard you're a voice actor. I could do voices. And I was like, okay, can you act? He's like, I don't need to act. I could do voices. And I was like, yeah. You have to be able to act, because so much of what we do is just, you're reading a script and it's like, okay, I'm not in the environment. I'm not even with the other actors. I'm just pretending.
Right. Even more so. You have to
Yeah,
be
it's
like,
it's you're acting at a higher level to some degree because it's all imagined. I was watching a thing of, I forget if it was Lord of the Rings or the Star Wars prequels, where they're just like, there's nothing around us. How are we supposed to act? And I'm just like, that's all we do. So for me, I've got like God of War or Jedi Fallen Order was that too, where I'd get a little preview of the spaceship I was on, and then I'd have to imagine it as I'm running through, because I did all of Cal's. Did you play Fallen Order?
A little bit, yes.
Okay,
yes.
the second one I worked on for a while, and I did all of Cal's previs. So before they go in and have the actors do it, we block out the scenes and stuff. So they have a digital camera or a digital thing that would show us the interior of the ship or the planet we were on. And so I would go, okay, what's that look like? All right, cool. And then I'd have to pretend and hold that in my head and sort of walk through this blank volume and imagine. So like
Ooh, wow,
being
that's
able
crazy.
to imagine is a big thing. Being able to act, and yeah, it's tough. It's really, really tough. I got very lucky, and but yeah, it's not impossible. There's so many outlets now. But I would say honestly, the biggest thing other than acting is don't be an asshole. Like an asshole. Don't be a jerk. You have to be a kind person who's trying to listen and work with people. If you're off-putting or you feel entitled, like that's one of the biggest things. I mean, I think it makes it just better for everyone. Listen, go to therapy, be kind, and you know, it's because that's really what it's about. At the end of the day, it's you in a dark room with other people, and being talented at what you do and having the skills is extremely important. You need to know how to act, you need to know how to change it up on the fly, but like also just be interested in people and be interested in what makes others feel comfortable and and happy, and because that's a big part of it, and it's something that people don't talk about a lot. But yeah, I don't know if that really answered the question.
No, it's a great point, and for you and I, who have definitely worked in different realms, but I think we could agree that's probably the most important thing, is that people want to work with you. There's no doubt. And that's really what it comes down to, regardless of talent or skill, because there's plenty of both out there. And unless you want it in the room with you, you're right. Listen, I am tremendously proud of you.
I always tell
I
people
admire
about
you.
And
Well, thank you.
and well, again, just to spend time together is really great, you know. And sometimes life gives you knocks and punches, but you know, we all don't know how long we're on this planet for, and you're far away, and
Yeah, I moved as far away from New Jersey as I could.
yeah, and I don't blame you, but
It was a move made out of depression, and a smart one, I guess.
no, and it was the right one for you. There's no doubt. Like, you know, you got to be in that space. You got to be in that space for that. So yeah, no, I have immense respect for you. I love you. I admire you. And I also just bought a copy of The Legends of Jack Sparrow, just so I can play through it one more time.
The crappy PS2 game.
Yes, the one where you fold it in half like this.
Half floating through
Was
the
it me
level
or
with your
you?
sword waving around.
Was it me or you?
What the sword?
Who was folded in half?
I don't
like
remember
this?
who it was. One of
This
us
is
was
a
completely
video
folded in
game.
two.
It's a video game that glitched, by the way. That's what we're talking about, The Legends of Jack Sparrow. It's a wonderful game if you want to have a couple of laughs at a party or otherwise. But yeah,
I saw someone on, it might have been these guys Mind Pulp or something, who played it, and they kept glitching all over the place, because it's like you would run to the end of the screen and then all of a sudden he would go whoop, you know. It was, I've never played such a broken game. It was, God, I loved it.
Yeah, my friend said to me, "Can you take pictures of? Can you do my headshots?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm not qualified for that." And I'm like, "So please don't, you know, like I don't want anything for it. Like I'll try my best." You know what I mean? Like, 'cause I have all these lights and stuff. Like I can shoot video, I shoot film. I'm shooting in 6K right now on this thing, but like, you know, I'm not a photographer. So he's like, "Oh, hey, would you just do it for me?" And like, I'm just gonna put them out there. I'm like, "Okay." And then he's like, "Do you want my PS2?" Like, I guess it was a way of thanking me. I'm like, yes.
Yeah,
Like,
I do. That's the first thing I bought when I came out here. I was so poor, but I found a PS2 for like $20, and I was like,
oh my goodness. Yeah, I got that. I wanted to try Sly Cooper because it seemed really interesting, and I've never
first
played
Prince
it.
of Persia is what I played. One of the first things I played out here, and I was like, man, this is good.
Those were such good games. They took the challenge out of the new one, or whatever it was, where it was like, you can't die. And it's like, well, if you
Oh my
can't die,
God.
then you can't play.
I soft locked myself out of being able to progress because I fell off the thing and I just kept falling infinitely. And I was like, you know what? I'm done with this game.
The Prince of Persia?
Yeah, because I couldn't die, so I couldn't progress. It was horrible.
Oh my gosh.
But anyway,
Yeah, no, again, thanks for doing this, and I think people will enjoy this a lot. I mean, we have a banter because we're brothers, but that's what makes it interesting. But no, I'm very proud of you, and I can't wait to see what you do next.
That's all I'm gonna say.
Same. I'm so proud of you and everything you're doing. I mean, you've made like 100 feature films now. It's insane.
Well, thank you.
And you have an Iron Man costume. I know that was one of your big things. Is building an Iron Man costume was such a life goal. It's funny how as we get older, we're like, huh, I think I have the resources to do this dumb thing I wanted to do when I was a kid. And it's like, yeah,
Thank you. Yeah, that's like the only thing I wanted besides, I guess at some point it was like, okay, I'm gonna make films. You know, like it was like Iron Man suit and then films. You know what I mean? So I was like glad I got to
you're
do
doing
both.
it.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, I'm super proud of you as well, and thank you for. I'm more than happy to come back and do this again. I completely screwed up my schedule this morning by thinking this was tomorrow, so it's
Well,
my
no,
fault.
thanks
But
for
hey,
still
at least
doing
I
it.
have this. Hopefully they didn't blow out my mic. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I love you. Thanks for being on. Everybody, ladies and gentlemen, AJ LoCascio. AJ LoCascio. Round of applause, round of applause. He's even applauding.
I love you too. This was fun. Goodbye.
Enjoy your breakfast. Okay, guys, that was AJ LoCascio, voice actor extraordinaire. He's done a lot of great work. It's plenty of more work upcoming. Again, he's worked with some of the major companies that are out there. He's done tons of video games. If you want to look him up, maybe we'll link. I guess we'll link his IMDb down below. Just a fun thing between brothers because we never really get to talk like this, and we're also so far away. I mean, we talk, of course, but you know, to actually talk about his career is interesting. And you know, in our both of our busy lives, it's nice to be able to stop, to talk, and to think, and to say, hey, we appreciate each other and what we've done. And from the place we came from, it means a lot. So thank you guys. It means a lot that you're watching as well. I also wanted to say we're trying out the Rode Go 2 for the first time. These things seem to be fantastic. So in terms of Film Valor technology, it's these things are amazing. They're feeding right into the camera. So if you haven't checked out the Rode Go 2 wireless microphone system, dual channel wireless microphone system, I definitely would recommend it. These things are incredible. And it allows videos like this to be even more possible. So thanks for watching Film Valor, and we'll catch you all next time.